Welcome back, gods and amazing goddesses of your reality. This is Manifest with Jenny and Nutritious Lives. Today I'm very excited. I've got my colleague Nick here. Say hi, Nick.
Hi all.
And we're going to be very spontaneous today. We don't know where it's going to go because I think it's true to say that me and you can chat, can't we?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Chat for the world, I think.
We can. So it's quite convenient to start with our thoughts and what we express creates.
I think that's the topic, isn't it? You know, that maybe the audience doesn't realise that we create our own reality.
And how do we do that?
Well, we have probably around 65,000 thoughts a day. You know, we do. I know I sat at the back of the maths class, but we're only aware of around 7,000.
Wow, I never knew that.
So
I knew about, I heard 70,000, but you know, there and thereabouts. But I never knew about, the average person just being aware of just that little amount.
So that's a small fraction, so it's quite frightening if you think about it with your maths. There's 58,000 other thoughts that are buffering, causing you to feel and act a certain way.
Yeah.
And obviously that has implications for relationships, personal and business, and as we were discussing earlier, Jen, we said about the biggest relationship is with yourself.
Oh really? It's you guys know that I'm always talking about. It's been the biggest thing for me, the game changer for me was discovering the love from within.
Yes.
And again, without ego, Nick. It's really because we taught this, aren't we? I mean, we could go off. We do want to come back to the thoughts, initially.
Yeah.
But we have been taught in society to not value ourselves that way, not say these nice things to ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame because I remember this myself. I remember thinking when I heard people say nice things about their person, I used to say things like, oh, that's not humble, that's big-headed.
Yeah.
And now I have these sweet conversations with myself. I realise it's the furthest from the truth to say big-headed or,
And I think what you posing on here is, there's a famous expression called the poppy syndrome, where and this is all around the world, but especially the UK and New Zealand, when the poppies grow too tall, they cut them down. So if you look at your media, newspapers, television, but now obviously latterly social media, people, and we're going off for a bit of a tangent, but to just paint this bigger picture, we worship celebrities. Oh, she's beautiful, he's handsome, etc., etc. But your neighbour, oh, who's he think he is? So there's a bit of a huge gap, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I think this comes down to a class system, especially in the UK. Upper class, middle class, lower class. And there's a hierarchy of where people fit in life. Whereas my grandmother used to say to me, look him in the eyes, Dominic. Not above, not below, look him in the eyes. We're all equal.
That's beautiful.
That's how I feel personally. That's how I was brought up.
Yeah, and I think that's an amazing way of looking at it, because we are all equal, aren't we? This is what I promote for Nutritious Lives, to really say, no matter what our colour, creed, whether we're in a wheelchair, whether we're able-bodied, none of that matters at all. So.
And as you're saying that, just following on from that, I think, we're all put in these certain boxes, stereotypical, as you call it, genders, male, female, which we'll go on to in a little while, certain roles women have, certain roles men have. Things are changing, but the system, just in my opinion, isn't working. People have been divided, black, white, male, female, heterosexual, bisexual, whatever that may be. And this is all about judgment, but the biggest judges of ourselves, as you were saying. I don't know if you've ever dropped the toast with the butter side down onto the floor, and I've done that. Bloody hell, you idiot.
Did you use the 20-second rule?
Oh no, I didn't use that. I used a 5-second one.
5, wow.
I've got a bit of an appetite, you see. I'm straight down.
That's
That's
working your heart too hard.
Yeah, I'm straight down on it. You know, I was the original Augustus Gloop. Sorry, guys. You know, I do like my food, but yeah, as you were saying, we can be our biggest critic. And if you think like that, if your vibration coming off you is negative, you know, this is what we're going to talk about. That what you're attracting in or what you're bringing in is going to be negative. So I'll give you an example. We're in Birmingham at the moment. If we drove to Wolverhampton, me and yourself, we were putting 2 fingers up to everybody. What do you think?
How could you say? Is this the Birmingham Black Country thing that you're talking about?
Possibly.
You couldn't. You know that I'm native to the Black Country.
Yeah, you are.
We can't do that. We have to salute.
You've got to salute, but I'm saying, you know, in this day and age, you know, if people are giving 2 sugars to others, you know, then you're going to get that back. So what you focus on determines your reality.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking negative thoughts, you're watching horrible things on the TV, such as the news.
Right,
it's all going subconsciously into us, and then we're projecting that onto others.
But going back to our basic, you know, starting off with basic thoughts. Because this is what we were talking about. How our thoughts create on that basic level is because we are all energy. We're 99.9% energy, 1% of matter. So that to me tells me everything that I need to know, because our thought creates energy, and that is everything. This is energy. I mean, you're a big ball of energy, aren't you, Nick? But everything's energy.
And you're totally right with what you're saying. If you let me just sit up and if you look around, people are grasping for energy. Monster drinks, coffee, this and that, but they're looking, in my opinion, in our opinion, we discussed this earlier, in the wrong place for energy. Because if you think about it, thoughts are things, as we said. The more you think about something, the law of learning is repetition. You think a horrible thought, then you start to get nasty, self-aggressive, impatient. But if you think a nice, calm thought, you know, take yourself back to that holiday with the sun, relaxing on the beach, then that's great. But the problem is, thoughts become emotions. What is an emotion? It's energy and motion stored within the body. What is a mood? That's a cluster of emotions, positive or negative, you know. And to give another stat, 77% of all thinking approximately is negative. 80% of it is the same as yesterday. So what do you think you're going to get?
And the more that it goes on, you know, past the mood, it becomes a personality trait.
Yes,
you're
totally right. Because we have people coming to ourselves to change their states of mind. And to change a state of mind really is to become aware of what behaviour, what energy you're giving out. So that takes a bit of acuity. You've got to realise where you are. And that, I think, is reducing the ego a little bit. Ego is a good thing. You know, it shows that, you know, it helps us survive. But too much of an ego, you know, have you ever heard of a guy not asking for directions? He'd rather cut his little finger off than ask for directions.
I'm sorry, you know, I don't want to do a sexist thing here. But I mean, is this a guy thing? Like, not every guy.
I think we could generalise and say it's a guy thing. You know, that's that sort of thing, and that again comes back to what we're trying to teach here is vulnerability. There's a strength in vulnerability for male or female, and historically, this is where we're going with this at the moment. You know, guys make out that they don't cry. You know, I mean, I could give you the 3 biggest lies that I think that perpetuate the world. Can I give you them?
What do you think? I think he was going to anyway. Go on, Nick.
So number 1, men don't cry. Number 2, money is God and is everything.
Yeah.
Number 3, women don't like sex. Can I say that?
I don't know whether that's on the list, Nick. I think you just threw that in. I think we'll change number 3, because that's obviously not true, is it, girls?
But what I'm saying is, you know, we can all hide behind these myths or these lies. And then if you look at, you know, there's suicides we don't want. But if you look at the male suicide rate, it's 75%. UK, Ireland, Europe. Okay, that could you know, you could unravel that and think, well, hang on, men aren't speaking the truth, neither are women. And this is what this is about, isn't it? We're attempting...
Because it's that, this is the other thing that I always promote on my channel, Nick, is vulnerability. It's so important, you know, to the expression and being vulnerable. You know, and it's beautiful. The thing is, and I don't mean, when I say I love to see a man cry, I don't want it to be a victim. I've cried over stubbing my toe and now I'm going to stop like a baby. Right, you know, I'm talking about real vulnerability where they're somatically releasing that, because Nick's a hypnotherapist, if you don't mind me saying this, Nick. And so, of course, you know, this is in essence what you're doing, aren't you? You're changing the programming. And so I should imagine that you experience, when we're talking about men at the minute, but I should imagine that sometimes you have this, you know, you have someone on the bed or on the chair, and then they have this big influx of emotion, would they? Sometimes clients can. I mean, we're all individuals here, you know, we all vary, but as you're quite right saying, you know, soma of the body, you know, somatic release. So I state that the unconscious mind is the body. Okay, and I feel that's the issue. We both try and help people connect with this, the heart. You know, so the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain to the heart, and the heart's formed in the fetus before anything else, and we call it the seat of emotions. So people are generally in the head, which is giving them an illusion of time. You know, and to get out of the head, pardon the expression, to get back into the body and work through these emotions and release them is far more powerful. But people, unfortunately, have been conditioned, in my opinion, to be in the head. Okay. Well, now I'm pleased that you raised that, because from a manifestation standpoint, I am in my head a lot. But however, I'm very much, as I would say, very healed. You know, I'm a work in progress, Nick. I'm always going to be a work in progress. But from, you know, from the journey and from the anxiety and depression, which I talk about on my channel, I've done a hell of a lot of work subconsciously on, and somatically, like you say, you know, brain and heart coherence. And now, you know, I feel like what it does is it allows me to go back to the head, because you know, it's everything's marrying together. But I think initially, when people are working through these issues, you're right. It's to sort of, you know, as Eckhart Tolle says, to be in the now, right, and to experience the now. The sense, the five senses. And then to lead on to the sixth sense is what I would, because
the intuition.
Exactly.
And that's beautiful what you're saying, because at the end of the day, you know, we can call it. We were talking about this earlier, if you remember. We said about, as I call it, you know, in the head. If you're in the head, that's psychological time. It's an illusion, because we're thinking what's happening tomorrow. Yesterday, we're not in the now. The body is clock time. Our body is not going anywhere. It's always present. It's always in the now. The power is now.
That's right. It's all we have.
So it's about sitting with the body. If you look at animals, how they sit, are they running around worried about the gas bill? They're worried about tomorrow. They're just literally in the now. And one of the big things that people may not realise, you're a cave woman, if I can say that. I'm a caveman. You know, over the age of 21, old money, if we can say that. But if we just tap our forehead for a moment, just tap our forehead. That's the problem with most people. They don't realise, you know, approximately around 180,000 years ago, the new brain was formed, the neocortex. This is the problem that's causing people to overthink. The animals haven't got that. They're just in the now. We've got the old primitive brain, but we've also got the new brain as well, which causes us to overthink and to react in certain ways. So it's about calming that down, but also understanding that. And we'll go into this in a later podcast with breathwork, which we spoke about before.
Are you talking about with calming the amygdala that's attached to the nervous system, the vagal nerve, and all that type of thing as well, which is really, really important. But I did, because that reminded me of a conversation we had the other day where you were talking about liking the idea of monkism. With the
Shaolin monks,
being very present, because monks are very present, and I think they meditate for like hours a day.
11 hours a day, or 7 to 10 hours.
And what I was saying from my standpoint, from being a manifestation life coach, namely the law of assumption, is that that's not where I'm going personally myself. I would encourage my client to, if that's what they desire. But I like the idea of balance with everything. I like to be in thought, to create my next moment, but really try to appreciate the moment as much as I can. And that sounds counterintuitive, but when things are working, when you've got the coherence like we're talking about,
there's a connection, isn't there?
It's so much easier, Nick, to be able to do that. But initially, it really is calming the amygdala, calming the brain, and doing these things. I would like to say initially for me, things like hypnotherapy to calm, meditation, ground, hug a tree, these beautiful things allow us to really calm ourselves in those moments, self-soothing.
And I think what we're saying is when we understand how the system works, the vagus nerve, the amygdala, that actually grow with fear or reduce when you're relaxed. As we said, we'll go on to a further podcast where you can physically change the brain. This is a great point that you're making, Jen, that at the end of the day, it is about connection, but understanding how we work. I'll give you the analogy of there's two different computers. You've got a Dell laptop, and I can guarantee, sorry audience, the crap. And you've got a Macintosh computer. If you know how to work the Macintosh computer, it's the best in the world. No virus, powerful, loads of memory, loads of storage, loads of energy. The same with us. When we work out how we work, we can gather more energy, positive energy. We can then be clear-headed and understand the direction where we're going. But as you were saying quite rightly, if we're out of balance, out of sync, just in the head all the time, that can create panic. So therefore, we're not breathing correctly, we don't have sufficient energy, and we feel as though we're going round in circles.
And again, we had this conversation about how females and males can work together, because we are different.
Yes.
And sorry guys, we are very different, and rightfully so. I love our differences. Do you, Nick?
Well, I didn't want to wear my red dress today just in case we clashed.
You nearly did,
I nearly did. You did tell me off. So get those jeans on and that white top.
That's right. So,
you can't look better than me in a red dress. But anyway, we don't want to compete.
How could I possibly do that, Nick?
So it's that. It's what we really love is helping other people to realise that the vehicle they're in that gets them from A to B or A to Z. None of us are getting out of here alive, are we?
No.
So we want to make that journey fantastic. And again, that old cliche or corny word, it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's definitely the journey. We've got to appreciate the moments with family, with colleagues, with friends, because otherwise it goes that quick that you can't even take a breath. And I feel that some of the audience would benefit from possibly slowing everything down, and enjoying life. Because I feel that speed is a problem.
Well, it's a pop in the pill society, love.
Yes,
and that's what it is.
Yeah.
We even, I've experienced this time and time again with clients. I don't know whether you have. I will quickly make this point with regards to the hypnotherapy. And I haven't discussed this with you, but if you wouldn't mind me expressing this, that I think is a key point. I think the difference with Nick working on hypnotherapy to me with the life coaching, the manifesting life coaching, is that mine's slightly more of a slower process, whereas with Nick, having the sessions with Nick, it goes into the subconscious quicker. But with you being so knowledgeable, I'm not detracting from anything that you do, because it's clear that you've got the knowledge to be able to pass on to your clients aftercare in that way, to understand their thoughts, because this is the thing, Nick, I think where this is where people stumble when they go and have a therapy. They still don't understand thyself and their mind, how it works.
And I think this is a big thing, isn't it? It's like you know, at the end of the day, you've got to understand yourself. Wasn't that carved into a Greek temple 6,000 years ago, and it said, know thyself? So when we understand ourselves, or you and myself explain the process. So we explain the process to people. With hypnotherapy, it can be a bit weird. I've had clients, you know, I ask them at the end of it, you know, how do you feel? And they're that relaxed. They've never felt that relaxed, you know, which is a good thing. Because also in that state, it's theta brainwaves. All right. Okay. Which
this is another conversation we could talk about.
We could go off on a tangent, but it's a healing state. You know, we're going to brain cycles another time. It's literally a healing state, and they feel refreshed, revitalized. So there's so many different levels you can use hypnotherapy for. You know, there's a short-term program and a long-term program. And clients come to me to remove anxieties, depression, addictions, etc. But again, with yourself, you're doing the wonderful work with the manifestation. It's a similar process, but it's a longer process at times. But every single person is individual. Who they want to work with.
That's right.
What process they want to go with, and it's being comfortable. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's being comfortable.
And this is the thing with the work that we do. It's not about me.
No,
I'm not actually, me and you, I'm speaking for you, Nick, but I'm sure you feel the same. I'm not actually promoting anything. I'm promoting self-healing. Independence and self-healing, to want to know, because the way my heart and my mind works is different to yours, Nick. It's different to any other person on this planet. And so that's the key point that I want to get over, is you are an individual. You know?
And you're right what we're saying. So with clients, we're both on the same level here, that I go through a process with clients, and some people, I've had one woman, she tapped her chest like that. She went, oh my God. And I smiled and knew what she was going to say. She said, that feeling's gone. I said, oh, do you mean the feeling that you wanted to get rid of? That's why you booked in with me. Because sometimes negative feelings or positive feelings, but we're talking about negatives because you want to get rid of negatives, obviously not the positive. But any negative feelings that are within the body, people want to get rid of, because it's held them back for many, many years. But because they've had it for so long,
they've got the chemical
They've got the chemical.
It's almost like an addiction.
Yeah, they've got that chemical, because the old brain, the primitive brain, only wants you to survive, wants us to survive. We want you to thrive. And when it is released from the body, it's a bit of a strange feeling.
And it almost leaves a redundant feeling. I'm used to a rush here. I'm used to this. So it's really, this is where the retraining comes, isn't it?
And you're totally right. It's like we're really rewiring the brain and body, because before, that victim mindset, sorry to say, was an identity. You know, I'm not going to go into my whole background. We'll come out with our backgrounds another time. But you know, we can all play the victim. But at the end of the day, people get bored, I'm afraid, of hearing somebody's story over and over again. I won't, and you won't. But family members will get bored of that same program. And unfortunately, it can pass on, as we know, from generation to generation. And we're talking about trying to cut that off at the knees.
And it's a regurgitation, because they're not somatically releasing that story. And so they, you know, that's what it is. And they don't always know that they're constantly regurgitating it the way that they do. So what me and you do is to help release that, and then it's to create the new story of new self.
And as you're saying that, Jen, I'm feeling that again. And I do feel for people. I'm from a dysfunctional family, okay, who's from a functional family. But what I'm saying is, it can be traumatic, because that family can be perpetuating that identity. That's why people come to see yourself. You know, and to help them remove that, because again, toxic thoughts, negative thoughts are just going to go on a loop. And this is how we're programmed anyway to survive. And once you release that, you know, as you've told me about your clients before in the car, that there's a sense of freedom, but there is also a sense of, oh, this is new.
And who am I?
Who am I? Yeah.
You know, it's a whole it's a whole portion of who they believe that they are. That's not really who they are, but they've carried around as their identity of who they are. And like I was saying to you, Nick, fundamentally, it's to say, who do you want to be?
Yeah.
You can be, and you can have whatever you want, anything right?
You want,
so it's sticking to that story of, but who do you want to be? What's the life you want to create? And it's having the tools and techniques, as far as I'm concerned, with Nutritious Lives, to then in those low moments, in the you know, dealing with the ego so much, because it's the biggest player, right? You know, that we have to contend with. It's always making my clients understand detachment, things like detachment, acceptance, patience, persistence, like we talked about. It's all this, but not just hearing the words, it's actually understanding what they actually mean.
Yeah,
you know?
and no offence, you know, I've got to say exactly what you're saying now. You know, clients get a free book or what have you, people buy self-development books, but if you read a self-development book and you don't do anything with it, do you know what I call it? Shelf development. So you've got a full, you know, my jokes don't get any better, sorry, but it's rather than being exactly what you're saying in an eloquent manner, it's not about being a theorist, it's being a practitioner. If you don't put it into practice, guys, then it's not going to happen, but that does require support.
But you need to learn that skill first. This is in my own journey of going through this. What I needed to learn is I needed to intellectualise it first.
Yes, of course.
Before applying it. But then that is the steps. You're 100% correct. But if we haven't even got to that place where we understand it on an intellectual basis,
nothing's going to happen.
Apply it.
Yeah,
you know?
and I do agree with Jen. You've got to understand it. There's, you know, 4 stages of learning we can go through maybe another time. I think that was Noel Birch in the 70s. You can learn information, but you can actually unlearn it, as Jen's saying. So they've learned to be a victim, but then you've got to unlearn to not be a victim. Because being a victim can give many benefits. You may get lots of attention. You know, oh, how are you, Jen? How are you, Nick?
That's right.
You know, but that really won't carry you through life. It's about stepping into your power. I think that's what we're saying, isn't it? Stepping into your power.
And I think the biggest thing that people hold themselves back from learning all this, it does seem overwhelming, but the benefit is once you've learned these skills, as soon as you go through an experience that you would have coined or perceived as similar to the past, your mind is totally transformed, Nick. You react differently. Thoughts that you'd never have had before suddenly pop up to reassure you, to self-soothe you, to say, it's okay, you haven't got to deal with this right now. But it's actually getting into that habit of listening to your brain. And I think, you know, a lot of people think that's scary. It's scary to
sit with those thoughts.
You know.
I mean, there are books out there, but again, not everybody's understands this. It's not broadcast enough, in my opinion, in the UK. You know, about self-help, and we're not quite up to therapy. You know, as it is in America. But I think it's a good thing that more and more men and women are going to coaches, therapists, call it what you like, a support network where they can express rather than suppress. You know, and when you express, you find that you feel the load has lightened a little bit. You've offloaded to somebody. And then eventually once you do that, once you offload, your clients, my clients, which we spoke about before, they feel this unburdening. It's almost like the handbrakes took off the car. You can move forward. You know, you can move forward with your life, getting this direction and clarity, and then maybe they can go into a new relationship. You know, you can't. You know, if you take the old bricks with you, you're going to build the same house. So when you go into a relationship, if you take the old baggage, unfortunately you're going to create the old relationship.
That's right. It's a new face, but same scenario. And this is a good point of leading on to what we were gonna initially talk about. And obviously, because we do want to. The other thing is we touched on talking about attachment styles, but I think that could be a whole thing on its own. But just to come back to what you've just raised there is. We are going to do quite a few, I should imagine, because we've got a lot to talk about on this subject. I mean, we could talk about this till the cows come home, couldn't we? With regards to love relationships and interpersonal relationships. But that is the most basic thing that I'd like to get over to the viewers and to my clients is self-concept. Is being able to know that you have to put. I don't want to say put the work in, but to really discover who you are before you can get into this relationship where you can give yourself to another.
Definitely. I think we can't put it on other people to make us happy. It comes from within. At the end of the day, you could use another analogy. I'm not a petrol head, but I'm not a bad driver. But I remember my instructor years ago, many moons ago in Liverpool, saying to me, she was Dominic, she says, let the car do the work. Some people are so pent up on the wheel like that. Control. And you can't always have your instructor with you. That's like going into a relationship, trying to get somebody to help you with your happiness. Like you said,
you're responsible for me now. And you have to do certain things to make sure I feel this way. Good luck with that. I mean, it happens all the time.
It does,
it's not sustainable, is it? It's not longevity.
It's not sustainable, and also the other person will feel burdened with that. If that person is always breaking down in tears, male or female, and that's a good thing, as we said, to express. But if they're constantly breaking down and you're giving them information to change themselves, they'll never need to, because why would they when they've got their endless supply of what do I need? It's basically like they're using another person as that higher self. As that person, you can't, because that relationship falls apart. And what have you got? Or circumstances change. What have you got? You've lost yourself, and so you have to create this sense of identity and sense of self in a positive way. And I think that also, we're not going off for a tangent now, but mums in particular, and I feel for them. I'm a dad myself, but mums in particular, they're connected more with their daughters and sons, obviously the 9 months before they're born. And where I'm going with this is the moms can put all this information into the child, and then at 21, say the child leaves home. And then the mom is bereft, and some dads, but we're just talking about moms for the moment, they're bereft, they're like, oh my God, because that was their sense of identity, being a mother, which is great, but then they're lost because they put everything into somebody else. That's the same as a man and woman relationship. You've got to have an equal balance. I mean, that's different with a daughter and a son, but it's I've found clients coming to me, they don't know who they are.
Well, it is that codependency. It's that codependent, and this is what I like to steer away with when it comes to your children. We do know that we sometimes have to and get through and know that circumstances are going to change with different phases.
As they get older,
it is a different one when it comes to your children, but there are certain things we can still work on. But especially adult relationships. We have these, a lot of the time we have these unhealthy coping mechanisms and attachments that we really are not healthy long term. You're not bringing out the best in yourself, and you're not helping to bring out the best in your person, because ultimately, and I'm sure that you'll agree with this, Nick, that when you've got a partner who feels secure within themselves, and they can then say, bring to the table, let's converse and let's work together as a team of how we can resolve these issues, not putting my issues on you and you putting your issues on them.
We're all for support within relationships, loving relationships, but if there's an imbalance, then then the relationship will spiral out of control, because if you're together, you're together, you're moving towards that point in the future, that the goal that you both want. We all have separate goals within the relationship, but the common...
that's healthy.
That's healthy.
That's healthy, guys.
But you need a common theme, don't you, to where you're going.
Yeah.
You're going for that same target. If you've got targets all over the place, then that becomes a bit frantic. It becomes...
Well, I know that everybody's got their own interpretation. This is why we do have to be careful of words, because...
Yes.
It's all an interpretation of words.
Yeah.
But I personally don't like the word sacrifice.
Okay.
I like the word compromise, because it must bring up in my history, Nick. That must, and this is a good point to end on, maybe, to just when Nick puts me under after we finish rolling, maybe we can work on that.
Yeah, we can
play on words where you can help me with these.
I mean, language is extremely powerful, as we know. I had a client coming to me the other day, and she said to her partner, "You're lying." I said, if you can, I said, it'd be great if you could say to them, "Oh, I think you're mistaken."
Yeah.
We can soften things.
Yes.
And I think, unfortunately, that's a client coming through now, so...
Would you need... Right, that's it then. Shall I wrap this up?
I think we're going to wrap this up.
Oh, it's a way to end, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Okay. Right. Well...
Cheers, guys.
As always, you know how I end this. Not with Nick in the background, usually having a good laugh at my expense, but I'm sending you lots of loving energy, as always. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in the next one.
Peace to all and love. Take care.